Our topic is one that we all have an immediate stake in: support programs for California's small businesses hurt by the pandemic. What's available? Who qualifies? How to apply? This is definitely news small business people in our audiences need to know, including many of us who run our own ethnic media outlets. The California Small Business COVID-19 Relief Grant Program. The sixth and final round of applications for grants ranging from $5,000 to $25,000 opens April 28th and ends May 4th.
This is our 12th program, and Lendistry made the intentional decision after we started getting into the pandemic, and then more importantly, after the death of George Floyd, me as a leader, made a decision that it was time for minorities to not only, I would say, participate in the program, but be more involved in the deployment of capital of the program. And with that comes sometimes a surprise. If any of you have been in those moments, I think it was a little bit of surprise to see what Lendistry could do. And there's a lot of reasons for that surprises. We don't have to go into that. But I think what initially happened is in round one, prior to round one, we made a decision about who would be on the bus with us. And I don't think there's any secret to underserved lending and capital deployment. It's about who are the partners, and do the partners have an appreciation for who we're trying to reach. And so we were selective, and with that comes, some challenges, as you can imagine. But we decided to be selective in who we chose because we knew who we were trying to hit and who we were trying to get to. Naturally, if we had more time, we probably would have expanded and probably had even more people or more partners that could have jumped on the bus. I think the good thing about having the multiple rounds is we've been able to add partners who maybe weren't available. If you know anything about the program, it started during the Christmas holiday and in the New Year's. I mean, our first round was December 30th. Our first day, was December 30th. So imagine trying to launch a program and get everybody together and tell them, hey, I know you had a rough 2020, but I need you to stay at your desk. And by the way, not only do I need you to stay at your desk, I need you to cancel your vacation, I need you to cancel your holiday and forget New Year's, because that's essentially the conversation we were having. And in the midst of all of that, we still took 344,000 applications in 15 days. To be clear, that's the most applications taken by any lender in any program in the country. If we were a PPP lender, we would be ahead of every single national bank in the country, just so you have some perspective on that. And so with that also came a significant amount of demand. And so, hats off to the governor and to the state and to Cal OSBA for seeing the need. Look, we can all go back and say that the playbook shouldn't have been written differently, but when you're in the moment, you have to make the decisions you have to make. And no one, I will tell you this, expected us to have 344,000 applications in 15 days. No one, including the team of Lendistry. And again, this is our 12th program. So after the first $500 million, several of the state assembly members, congressmen and congresswomen, I think really stepped up to the plate and said, how can we help small businesses? I think you all know how this works, but let me be clear with you. We all wish that there was money for everybody. We have not run a program. I've been in lending for 22 years. I have never seen a program ever in the history of programs that has enough money for all the need. I would like that to be corrected, but I do not think that's something that is that simple that we could just say provide the money. And you're seeing that today with shuttered venues that had some challenges over the weekend, and I guarantee you'll see that with the National SBA Restaurant Program that only has $25 billion, which, let's be clear, New York or Los Angeles could cover $25 billion by themselves, and that's a national program. So we just have to be mindful of all of these things as we think about the future. But the answer to your question, Regina, is we're extremely excited to continue our partners. This is the first national program that I'm aware of that has community development financial institutions, chambers of commerce, mission-based lenders, and also mission-based organizations. So I think the other thing that should be said here is that California is actually setting a tone that I guarantee you are going to see other states follow in the upcoming months with the American Rescue Bill. Yeah, so just to be clear, it's $2.075 billion, and the state created another program for arts and cultural nonprofit institutions. Inside of the legislation, you can find the various NACES codes. You could also find it on our website, careliefgrant.com. That program has run. It is now closed. However, we are in addition, as part of, the $2.075 billion, it was the additional money for a closed round 3, which means we didn't take any new applications, an open round 5, which we completed in April, and then an open round 6, which is the April 28th through May 4th. The game plan, there was 2 things that we thought about. And again, I share this with you as someone who as a leader wanted to be extremely intentional in this program. The first thing to understand is first come, first serve is not normal. And we all have called for it, but when you're in it, it is a little discouraging because you might have applied on the first day of December 30th and you might not get chosen. But we have seen every single program before this one where the underserved did not make it to the table fast enough. And so we made a conscious decision that we were going to be intentional and we weren't going to do first come, first serve. It's painful when you don't do first come, first serve if you're one of those people who had your information in the first time. But it's also painful if you show up a week late because you didn't know about the program that it started on December 30th. So there is no win here on either side. But what we decided to do was to make sure that we gave everybody a chance. If you think about it, to be able to apply from December 30th through May 4th is really a long time. It's really an opportunity for those to figure out what they need to do. We're only collecting essentially 5 documents. So let's first go through the program. An applicant must apply. What is different about our program is although a round closes, the applicant can still finish their application. Again, in trying to be intentional and trying to help underserved, that means even though the round closes, if you didn't finish inputting your information, if you didn't have all your paperwork to know your numbers, you can still apply. There are unfinished applicants who tomorrow will get an email from us that says, you're still welcome to finish your application. That's not normal. Normally what happens is when it closes, you're shut off. You don't get to do anything else. The reason why I bring that up is you only have to finish the application to be selected. You don't have to provide any documents. We ask you to provide documents because that speeds you up when you are selected. And the documents that we do ask you to provide, depending on whether you're for-profit or nonprofit, are we ask you to provide proof of your business being in existence, and that is a variety of different things. For the sole proprietors, that could be a professional business license, that could be a 1099, that could be sales tax. Obviously, for some of our bigger companies, they would have different things that have proved that they're in existence. We ask for a copy of the 2019 tax return. The program says that you must make between 1,000 and up to 2.5 million. And so we're looking at that gross sales number to see how much income that business has. If they're selected, we ask them to provide their bank information. And some people ask, well, why do we do that? Well, I think you all know about fraud, waste, and abuse. We're running a very big program here. You're also aware that things have happened in other California programs. And so we have to protect against that. And so we do it for 2 reasons. Number one, to validate that the business actually has an account. And the second reason we do it is because it allows the client to input their information and allows us to send the money to them faster. Other documents that are required are photo ID. We're looking for government issued photo ID. We're just trying to verify who this authorized signer is on behalf of the company. And then if it is a nonprofit, we also ask for the 501c3, C6, 19. We're just looking for that designation to show that they are actually a nonprofit.
Right. So I know that we have a couple of questions and I want to try and get to them so that we don't run out of time today. I think these questions are really, really important. And so one of our first questions is, how can Black-owned businesses improve their chance of getting a loan?
Yeah, so let's be clear with a couple of things. The first thing is it's a grant, and so it's not a loan. The second thing is I want to be clear, when we use the word minority, I'm going to just tell you 2 things. Number one, I don't assume Black is underserved, and I don't assume that white is not underserved. So the program has priorities. The priorities are on the first page. None of them have to do with race. That being said, I want to make sure I do answer the question, which is how do they have a better opportunity? The first thing they need to do is just apply. And I can't stress that more, because sometimes we, the small businesses that we deal with, they get so confused and so wrapped up in the paperwork. You don't have to get wrapped up in the paperwork. There's actually a Lendistry representative that reaches out to the applicant when they're selected and helps them walk through what they need to find, where to find it in the paperwork that they need. What we want to do is just apply, because by applying is the opportunity to get selected. Now, we want them to apply as soon as possible, because when Lendistry starts selecting applicants to move forward, you have a better chance, obviously, the earlier that you've applied, because we're naturally approving applicants over a certain period of time. One of the other things that we do that's different than some other programs is we generally approve between 3,000 and 5,000 businesses per day, or select 3,000, 5,000 businesses per day. You might say, well, why do you do that? Why don't you just approve, 20,000 in one pot? Well, because we recognize that underserved small businesses actually need time to finish their unfinished applications. Everything that we're doing has a thought process behind it. And I'll be the first to say everybody doesn't agree with it. But one of the things that I've been doing is I've been lending to underserved people, mainly Black people, for the past 20 plus years. So I understand what I think is how to help underserved small businesses in general. And so all of these things have been somewhat intentional. Yeah, so the best way to think about it is it's an algorithm. And if you're not familiar with algorithmic processes, the first thing that is, I think, amazing about them is they're non-biased. And so what happens is it takes the information that is put into it based on the program priorities, and then it pushes out information. One thing that you want to think about is inside of this algorithm is it is actually watching the California Blueprint for a Safer Economy. So it's watching the COVID numbers. The other thing that you want to know about it is it has geographical distribution. So sometimes we say, well, we have two businesses, they look exactly the same. Or are they truly exactly the same? Because truly exactly the same means the income's the same, the owner's the same, all of the location is the same. Like literally it has to be the exact same address. And that's virtually impossible, right? And so there is no such thing in a non-biased algorithmic way of saying I have the exact same. The other thing you have to understand is that the information changes every time a new applicant comes into the system. So it is almost virtually impossible for me to say, well, you should look like this, or your tax return should be like this, or should be located here, and this is how you get selected. The system is way more intelligent than that.
Okay. And then I think one of our last questions, or this one, would be, what size of a business? My company is a very small consulting business.
Mm-hmm.
How small do you have to be, and maybe talk about the loan sizes?
Yeah, absolutely. So the grant sizes are between 1,000 and 20. The revenue can be between 1,000 and up to 2.5 million. Now, whether that's one team member or whether that's 100 team members, I don't know, especially in a pandemic, because obviously, as you can imagine, sizes change all the time. But I would share with you that there are applicants who've been selected that have one team member, and there are some that have been selected that have multiple team members. So the spirit of this program and the purpose that the Cal Office of Small Business Advocate put together is they were trying to help those who might have been less fortunate or unable to get other programs that might have been more conducive to larger companies. First of all, the state does release information. On Cal Office of Small Business Advocate site, they release the round 1, they've released round 2, they've released the demographic information, they've released who's been selected. That information is there. The data does not belong to Lendistry; it belongs to the state. So the state will deliver it at their decision. But I think that they've done a good job. I mean, again, we've been in these programs with 12 others or 11 others, and I will tell you that the state of California is doing a good job of providing the information. Others have not done what the state has done, and I'll just leave it at that. The second thing I would share with you is that we were given a priority, which is listed as one of the priorities, a geographical distribution. And that is being measured on not only state level, but county level, district level, assembly district level, congressional district level, and I'm missing one, but a senator district level, I think that's the one I missed. Anyway, I say all that to say that every single one of those districts and counties have received, have small businesses that have been awarded. Now, you might say something like, why does, Butte County have less than Los Angeles County? I think that's a simple answer because of the number of small businesses, but some people, do, flag things like that. I do not have an answer for, why more businesses might apply from one place versus another, except for just that there's sheer volume. And so I think you'll see that if you look at the details of who's been selected.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lamar Haystack, president of Asian Inc. We're an economic equity-based nonprofit headquartered in San Francisco with offices in Oakland, San Jose, and in Fresno. But before I begin, I just want to share a very brief statement that we made yesterday. And the statement is as follows: a conviction in the murder of George Floyd yields a measure of justice, but true justice means no lives ever lost like this. The march for liberty and justice for all goes on, and we continue to march in solidarity. Black Lives Matter. I think it's important to understand the context in which we're facing multiple threats. We have the epidemiological threat of the coronavirus. We have the threat to Black lives by our system, and we also face anti-Asian hate. And I would say with the anti-Asian hate and violence, that has really put a chill on the economic activity of AAPI small businesses. So my job as president of Asian Inc., and Asian Inc. operates a minority business center for the US Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency. Our job is to support all minority business enterprises to achieve contracts and capital, but specifically because Asian Inc. is an Asian American oriented organization, we have focused somewhat on the needs of Asian American small businesses who are trying to operate not just within the context of COVID-19, but within the context of a threat to their safety when folks who are being targeted for the color of their skin are finding it more difficult to do their jobs. There has been research done that shows that Asian American small businesses have faced a disproportionate effect because of the coronavirus. And there's recent research that was released last month that shows Asian-owned small businesses saw the biggest decline in working business owners through the end of 2020. I can share that research with you. That is not to say that all diverse communities, business segments have not been impacted. They certainly have. I've partnered, and we have partnered on this program because we feel it is important to receive this kind of financial assistance, not just loans like PPP or EIDL or other loan programs, but grants that make it much easier for small businesses, diverse small businesses, to get from under COVID-19. And sometimes there are expenses that cannot be borne by PPP. PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, is a program that allows you to spend the funds on eligible expenses, namely payroll, mortgage interest, rent, and utilities, and you can achieve forgiveness with that if you use a certain amount, at least 70% now. Now, at the beginning of PPP, the funds were deployed in such a way that it was first come, first serve. And if you were late in line, too bad for you. And simply put, first come, first serve does not work for the neediest of our businesses. And that is not how we should determine how business assistance is distributed. And so our interest in partnering on the California Relief Program was to ensure that folks with limited English proficiency and other cultural sensibilities, that they needed a little bit more assistance. And I want to show the kind of assistance that Asian Inc. has been demonstrating to ensure the program reaches linguistic minority communities. So just to share from the Lendistry careliefgrant.com site, as you can see, this is the front page here. There's a section called Information for Applicants, Videos on Demand. Now, what Asian Inc. has done is been able to present the videos in Cantonese and Mandarin with our voiceovers. So not everyone here obviously will understand Cantonese, But there are other languages that are represented here besides English, of course. And you can peruse this page. It's on the careliefgrant.com site. You have Cantonese, Hmong, you have Korean, and you have all these other languages that are represented. So I applaud the program for allowing the materials to be presented in these languages. And I think it is not only important to do this, but it is imperative to do this. We do not live in a society where everyone conducts business in English. And in fact, we live in a society and in an economy, and I don't think we would have it any differently. We have an economy where the languages of commerce are many. And Asian Americans conduct their commerce and their business in not just Chinese, but many other languages too. So I encourage you to visit this page and encourage you to hear the voiceovers that Asian Inc. has provided to ensure that this program reaches linguistic communities. I would also remind folks that they can work with any of the providers of the there's a number of different front pages here to be able to get into the program. If you go to careliefgrant.com, you don't have to work, you can work with any of the providers listed. If you're looking for a linguistic provider, if you're looking for a county-based provider, we're all here to try to provide access to the program to help get your application in, to make sure it's complete so that you understand the eligibility requirements and as well as the other qualifications necessary. Asian Inc. and the other community-based partners, such as the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, our colleague here, Julian Cañete is here. We don't make any determination of who gets a grant. We don't make any determination of any of the lack of completeness. That is not determined by the community partners, but we are very motivated and very interested in making sure the businesses, the many hundreds and thousands of businesses that we serve, are able to access the program, complete an application, provide the documentation. And we are here to answer questions in Cantonese, Mandarin, Spanish, Vietnamese, Hindi, and Telugu. So if you have those needs, and if you would like to speak with someone in our organization who can address the program in those languages, I will place my information in the chat, and you are welcome to reach me at president@asianinc.org. The email address we've given to folks to be able to receive our assistance is careliefgrant@asianinc.org. We encourage, first of all, we thank as well the ethnic media for the service they have provided throughout not just the pandemic, but for many decades. Many of you have been in this business for many decades. And without the ethnic media, we would not be able to reach the most vulnerable, diverse business population. So I thank you for your service, because it is a public service what you do. And as public servants, I hope you, as well, providers of vital business services, can receive a California Relief Grant. I do hope that. And if there's anything that we can help to make sure folks apply and can get their materials in, we will help. The last thing I would share before I take a question is that we have been very helpful working with the Cal Asian Chamber of Commerce and the Asian Business Association of Los Angeles to be able to present these materials in languages. We're doing a webinar on the 26th at 11 o'clock, and our colleague is going to be providing the Chinese interpretation. So this is what we've done. We will continue to do it. It is a public service. It is important that we do these in all the languages that everyone can do, English and otherwise. So thank you all for your service, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk with you today. I would say a number of the small businesses, a great number of them, and I'm sure Everett can answer this one too, is a lot of them are what we call our storefront businesses, our Main Street businesses. Imagine going down the main thoroughfare in your city or town and imagine the businesses that line those streets. Those are the kind of businesses that we're helping. A lot of them are sole proprietors with employees. Some of them have varying degrees of sophistication with regards to the maintenance of their business records, whether their business income is commingled with personal their personal savings and things like that. There are, you can think of those businesses, the service businesses, the food businesses, and those are the ones that typically have the greatest need and need the greatest handholding. We do serve a great deal of professional services firms, so folks who may be college educated, folks who may have advanced degrees but still need assistance, folks who identify as Asian American Pacific Islander but who still need the assistance in English. I would say I have helped personally as president of Asian Inc., but as an employee of Asian Inc., not just in my role as president. I have personally helped dozens of businesses, and I am not a fluent speaker of Cantonese or Mandarin, but I've helped them in English, and they are not what you would typically associate with. Some of them are immigrant-based, some of them are not. Some of them have been successful with PPP, some of them have not been. It really is quite diverse, and as you get over 500,000, I think by this time, I don't know exactly what the number is, but over maybe 500,000 or so businesses that have applied, you're going to get a great cross section. But the ones who are in greatest need are obviously the ones where English is not the language of choice.
Real quick, and thank you for having me, and Lamar and Everett did a fantastic job. There's nothing left for me other than tell you guys April 28th through May 4th. Okay, that's the next round, so we don't forget. And I hope that all the media outlets that are, the businesses online here have applied as well, right? So again, we want to encourage that, trying to encourage everybody to apply. I real quick, and I'll be quick, I want to go back to March 16th, right around last year when we kind of went into the shutdown, right? And the legislature kind of gave the governor a little bit of carte blanche, right, on some monies. And he initially, allocated $50 million for what we call the loan fund for small business, and then another $50 million. So he did $100 million there that we're leveraging now through the California loan program that we have, that we're all partners on as well. It kind of spoke to the governor's understanding that, we needed some relief for small business. At that time, we didn't know we were going to be here a year later, now talking still about this. And I think it again shows his initiative and the administration's initiative to say that, and we were advocating, saying, as we got further and further into this pandemic, saying, hey, what we don't need to do is put businesses further in debt, right? It's great that we have the loans if they can afford it, but last thing you want to do is have a business, okay, I get the money, and on October 2021, I got to start repaying it back, right? And so we were encouraging, saying, hey, we need forgivable loans that, maybe we'll put requirements on, and if they meet those requirements, we forgive them, or a grant program. And luckily, we had a great year down at GoBiz, and the small business advocate, Isabel Guzman, now the administrator for SBA, carried that, I think, to the governor. We got this, and, we initially put up the initial $500 million, and then, he actually asked for, I forget how much more, but the legislature then said, we're going to give $2 billion, right? So again, answering the need of really all of you and small business advocates saying out there, we need to get some relief to these businesses, and it's got to be forgivable loans or grants. So I did want to put that plug in, that I think the governor and the administration and the legislature really sees the need, right? It's unfortunate that we had to have COVID-19 open their eyes to it. And I appreciate the ethnic media for, also helping us get that word out as well. And before I go into our comments in regards to outreach and stuff, and Everett is a very humble man. His organization, they basically had 2 weeks, if 2 weeks, to get this running, and they have done a fantastic job. Am I going to sit here and say there were no hiccups? I think Everett and I both said there were hiccups, but we knew that it was important for us to get beyond the hiccups and not dwell on them, because we knew, and him and his team knew, we had to get this money out to small businesses. So thank you, Everett, for all the hard work you and your team do. And guys, when you talk about 4,000 businesses being approved a day, that's phenomenal. When you think about that, they have to verify that they're a business. And that's why it's so important they all get their documents in. They've got to prevent fraud and everything else. the Lendistry team is doing a fantastic job. And so kind of what we kind of fill the void there, and I appreciate Everett coming to us to be a partner, is really helping to, number one, educate our members and get our members to apply, right? And all the businesses, I shouldn't say just members, but all the businesses in the state to apply, but really understanding the how this is going, right? You know, we can sit here and talk about algorithms or whatever. You know, small business, all they want to know is when I'm getting the money, right? When's that money coming down the pipeline? And so, you know, one of the things that our team did initially as we were doing outreach and education, you know, as we were talking with our liaison at Janet at Lendistry, you know, we said, everybody's applying day one, and we knew they were going to do, and we knew the system was going to go down, right, Everett? And, you know, one thing that our team started doing was letting people know it's not first come, first serve, guys. It's based on need, right? And the most important and the most, you know, impacted businesses are going to get that money first. And as I told businesses in the speech, I said, I know we all think we've been hit the hardest, but believe it or not, there's been businesses that have been hit harder out there. So as we've been doing outreach, and you have to remember, we have over 105 chambers and affiliates that are members of our organization. And that represents close to about 50,000 direct businesses in the state. And that membership base of ours, that 105 of those chambers, is very diverse in itself. It's not just Hispanic, it's African American and Black chambers throughout the state. It's Asian chambers that we have as members. So it's it's a very big cross section and diverse cross section of California. And so we've been utilizing them to get the word out, and we've really been concentrating on especially businesses that we feel that may fall through the cracks. And I think the governor kind of said that, you know, as he was putting up these dollars and everything else, whether it was loan program or this program, was we want to get to the people who may fall through the cracks, right? Those real small businesses, a lot of those micro businesses who think they may not qualify. You know, with the help of Lendistry and other partners, you know, we've been able to service these people. And one of our roles as well is, as we do outreach and they go to Lendistry, and as many of you know, as they said earlier, Lendistry makes the decision. Though people think we make the decision, they call us, hey, can I get the loan, Jules? I know you. I don't do that, you know. It's go through the process. And it's really trying to get those businesses, our businesses out there, to understand what they need, right? It's not just about outreach. It's all about education and educating them on the process. What we're seeing a lot out there, Regina, is that a business goes, applies, and then they wonder why they're waitlisted or they get back something that's incomplete. And then they call us at the chamber, because we've taken thousands of calls as well, and in the hopes to relieve some of the workload off of Lendistry. And where we can help, we help. But Lendistry, there's a coordinated effort between our two organizations in helping these people. But you know what we find a lot is that the business owner did not read the material. And we tell everybody when we do our webinars, and we've got one webinar that we do that the staff stays on until they do it in the evening, and staff stays on until all the questions are answered, right? And it's on this grant program, it's on loan programs. But we find out they're not reading the material, right? Which is first and most important. I can outreach all day, we can get you all to apply, but if they're not reading that material, that's where the delays come. So again, we encourage them all to read the material and have the documents ready when they apply, right? So they can sit down, get it applied. You know, some of the things that we're seeing, and we continue to work with our media outlets that we have a relationship to get the information out. I thank them. I know some of them are online. You know, they've been fantastic in getting the word out. And we're going to continue to get word out for round 6. But also, you know, some of the things that we've seen after outreach efforts is some businesses, you know, scan it. I don't know how to scan, right? So some technology issues, which our people online will help them with. We've even gone to the point of, as we can open up limited in some of our offices, of just having them come in and we scan them for them and then help them upload it. So, you know, there's just been a few of those glitches. But I think, you know, when you're running a program this big, you're going to see those glitches. You know, again, outreach has been through our chambers, through the media out there. you know, through stories, direct stories. You know, we've been hearing about businesses getting the loan now, which is fantastic, right? When I can, you know, put a face to the loan now, right? That they've got it, and they've and then when people say, well, are people getting the loans? We actually say, yes, we know. Hey, by the way, you know, call so and so. You know, they got it, and but really now a lot of our work is also getting some of these businesses that, as Everett said, will be getting an email that their applications are incomplete, et cetera, helping them complete those applications. And, you know, we don't want to see those businesses go to the wayside.
Thank you so much, Everett, for providing the overview of Lendistry on the process and the guidelines. You know, SAC Cultural Hub is no stranger. In the 20 years that we have been in business, more so when I first started the business, and the last 10 years of the business, actually the 5 years applying for grants and different business loans. And, you know, we understand the process. There's certainly a process, and we saw this process as far as the website that was put together and the application process. It was like, oh my God, this is so easy. So I just wanted to say that, you know, you had touched on how it could be painful for some businesses, because, you know, we were really discouraged when we applied, me and some other business owners here in the Sacramento community. And we just were like, we felt like, oh gosh, we're going to get selected because we have all these documents they've asked for, our taxes. And, you know, that was just like a shoe in for us as a business owner to be able to upload that information. And then to receive notifications that you were either waitlisted to keep receiving those notifications, it was discouraging. It was painful. And, you know, we got selected in round 3. I would call my other colleague and I would say, did you get selected? And, you know, she was like, no, I didn't get the email. And, you know, all I can say is, as a business owner, we were really, really excited when we finally got the notification. Is that we as business owners, and me especially as a Black-owned woman business, we can't give up. I mean, it's been a long ride through COVID. You know, I'm right along with a lot of other business owners, and unfortunately, some businesses did have to close their doors. Thank the Lord, we have not closed our doors. You know, we have been diligent in applying for so many different, like the PPP and other grants that are out there. And again, you just can't give up, you know, because we depend on the business grants. I've been screaming business grants for the last 5 years to come from our government. We need business grants, not loans. And I know the money is there from Washington and Congress to give us business grants, because it helps us who have payroll, very small payroll, and our overhead, you know, a lot of our operating expenses. It just really, really keeps us afloat, especially a lot of us that got hit by COVID. So again, thumbs up, 10 stars to Lendistry to hear about, you know, being bombarded with this program in December and having to turn the wheels, you know, like you did, and be able to process so many different applications like that, and then going to be selective rather than first come, first serve, which is really, really good. I'm always going to be on the horn for more priority again, to be given to Black-owned businesses, especially Black women-owned businesses. I'm a member of the Sacramento Black Chamber of Commerce, as well as the California Black Chamber of Commerce. So, you know, we make up the very, very smallest percentage of all of California as business owners. So that's a whole nother story and workshop and Zoom. But I want to thank Regina for allowing me to come on and give this testimony. And again, thumbs up. Thank you so much again for the business grant, because it has really served its purpose and continuing to serve its purpose.